Hello and welcome to Speaking Frankly. This is a podcast that covers all genres. We'll be talking to people from all walks of life. In each episode, we'll be engaging in captivating topics and explaining them in a straightforward but informative manner. As the title suggests, this will be an honest podcast with guests that shoot from the hip. Along the way, we will take a journey into the human mind by assessing the attitudes and characterizations that led people to their successes or their so-called failures. We are speaking frankly. Today's guest is the former AFC Liverpool manager Matt Potter. Matt took the club to its highest ever finish in its 15-year history. That didn't go unnoticed at Skelmersdale United, and as such, he was appointed as their new manager. But before we talk about his appointment, I'd like our listeners to learn a little bit more about him. I was recently invited back on the board of directors at Skem and played a pivotal part in Matt's recruitment. I've got to know him quite well in a relatively short space of time, but I don't know much about where he was born, his upbringing, or how his journey into football started. So that sounds like a good place to start. Hello, Matt.
Hello. How are we?
Not so bad, not so bad. So where did it all start? Your childhood?
Yeah, take it back to point dot, I suppose, as in 1986. I was born in Bury, over East Lancashire, and I grew up in a valley called Rosendale. Grew up all the way through there and played local football for a team called Skelmersdale United as I was growing up. My dad was a Leeds fan back in the day. He used to go to Ellen Road all the time, and all the fixtures in the successful time and successful era. And historically in Rosendale, it was either a United fan, a Burnley fan, or a Blackburn fan. So when I asked to go to watch United at Old Trafford, he turned it down and just said no. He wasn't having any of that, which is a bit of a balance really. So 1998. Bury had gone through a rise of going from Division 2, old Division 3 to old Division 1, so now Championship, and you see on teletext all the time going, Bury have won again, shouting through to the other room. So I said, do you want to go down and watch them? So we went to the first game and then carried on since then, and that's kind of where I fell in love with football a little bit more from just kind of playing really, and it was a lot of obviously getting to know my dad and spending a lot of time with him in a setting kind of away from the house and other parts of it. And then when I was doing my GCSEs actually, I wanted to do my GCSEs for PE. We had to go and do a little bit of coaching at a local club. So I started coaching then when I was 15, and when I was 16, 17 did my level 1, and I thought this is something to kind of get into really. Came over to Ormskirk and went to Edgell University when I was 18 and studied a degree in coaching there. Carried on working my coaching qualifications, and then from there got a job in an academy at Accrington Stanley. So travelling back over to East Lancashire many times a week, and then eventually started working for the FA and worked for them for 8 years, and then I suppose worked my way into non-league football and continued my coaching qualifications, and took me into obviously non-league with a few clubs, and management-wise, obviously AFC Liverpool, and today here we are with Skem.
Yeah, and I take it you didn't play much football then as a kid. I
played as much as any kid in the time. Then obviously back then when we did, to make it sound really a long time ago, and I said back then. Yeah. But yeah, all the time it was one of those ones we played for. Like I say, the team that used to play for Skelmersdale United, that was from under I can't remember now. Obviously early on juniors. We go and play with part of mates all the time. There was a bowling green at Victoria Park. We used to go and jump on there, and the surface was immaculate with the best pitch you've ever seen. It's like playing at Wembley. So we play at a bowling green basically 7 nights a week until the police came and chased us off. But it was a pristine service with no dog muck anywhere. Obviously sort of high levels into sort of academies and stuff. No, I've never really kind of made that grade, I suppose. But
so once you started coaching, you didn't carry on playing football? Not seriously, anyway.
No, not seriously. I mean, when I came to uni, I did my level 1, did my level 2 very early on, and then I started my B when I was at university, and then from there I started working at Accrington straight away. I was working in the academy there we were training Saturday. Well, we trained twice in the week in evenings. We trained Saturdays, and then on Sundays we had fixtures which would be anywhere, obviously across the northwest against other academy teams. So there was never any time to really kind of obviously play normal weekend football 11 aside. So 5-a-side a little bit is kind of dotted about with. And then obviously it's just one of those things happens with time really. So it's always been sort of coaching and management I've continued into since it kind of came over this way. Played the odd game of 11 aside, but not to sort of a level of any kind of note, just because I wouldn't have been able to commit because of a lot of stuff we work.
Would you call yourself a frustrated footballer?
A frustrated footballer, go on.
Well, in terms of management was the second best thing to do.
Yeah, I suppose. I think it's one of those ones where we played. I mean, when I was a kid, when we were younger, there was a lot of enjoyment with it, and I never kind of really. I mean, every kid has the dream that they're going to want to go and play professional football, but we were just kind of a solid group of mates who played together. There were times where I suppose you get a lot of teams nowadays that still fold grassroots teams. We never did. We persisted. There was some games we went and we played with 10 men against teams that had 11 and subs. And it didn't really matter. We just gave it our best, and to be honest, we could develop quite a lot of resilience and grit from it. And then I don't know. I suppose when I started coaching, then it's one of those ones I enjoyed as a start point. But I think when you get to your teenage years, I was probably a bit of a realist and think, well, I'm never going to be a Premier League footballer. I'm never going to go and play at a level where I think I'd necessarily get paid a decent amount of money for it. It was more of the enjoyment part and being with friends. And I think the coaching side of something, then it's a little bit new, a little bit different. You can look at a lot of coaches that these days, effectively I'm 37 now. I started coaching at 15, so what's that, 22 years of coaching in some way, form or another. A lot of people might not get into coaching until their 30s. And a lot of these, again, there's different levels of coaching. The early years was a lot of like 5, 6, 7 year olds. And again, you get into coaching, majority of the time you get put with the younger groups. You don't really go straight in at an older age. And I suppose for me, the age I was at that time as well, it probably helped coaching younger age groups.
So you've started coaching from the age of 15. But where did it seriously kick in?
Yeah, so we went and worked at the FA. So I was there in a full-time role for 6 or 8 years. It was one of the two. But the kind of performance side of football was something that was interested me in, what I wanted to get into. So when I went to Wedge Earl, it wasn't a kind of participation or a PE course that I did. It was the elite side of performance, and that's what I always wanted to do. It's that kind of the competitiveness which I like. It's the going against someone and I'm wanting to kind of win. I'm a competitive person, which a lot of people when they first meet me don't really understand. So when I was at the FA, we did a lot of work with, again, primary schools and grassroots clubs, which you don't really get that fix from. So I started I was delivering a course actually with Liverpool County FA, and it was a level 1 course. And there was a fella on it called Keith McCann, and Keith was the groundsman at Prescott Cables. And we just kind of got along, and he kind of chatting away and whatever else, and you see him, he had a question he wanted to ask, and I weren't quite sure what the question were, but at the time Dave Powell was the manager at Prescott Cables. So he had an assistant, but they had no coach that was there. So it would be something you're interested in? And I'd be like, absolutely, no shot of a doubt. So I had a chat with Dave Powell. I went in then and I coached there. I think I was there for, must have been until probably just the end of that season. Can't remember the date that we went in now, but it was a good experience. Dave then left, and then I went into, I'm trying to think how long this was. It was probably about 10 years ago now, maybe. I went and coached or managed a team called Bebington, AFC Bebington. They were in the West Cheshire League, so they were in Division 2. Again, that was just a kind of point to the end of the season, and then from there was Bebington in the league below. So West Cheshire's a little bit different, where you've got your West Cheshire Division 1, you'll have your teams, but then your reserves could be in the league below. So there are a lot of teams that were in that league where, well, for example, the purpose of this was McGull's reserves. And the back of us playing McGull's reserves, at the end of the season, they asked me to come in and basically be the manager. There's a few people that previous years, a lot of managers been in and they'd left and they moved into the counties. So I went to McGull and managed there for a year.
Were you there before or after John Brownrigg?
after. So John Brown was there, and obviously he went to Ashton Town, and then the following season, Phil Stafford came in, who's just been appointed manager at AFC Liverpool.
Yeah.
He obviously went into the counties with Remy, and then I went in the following season, and then I was there for a year, and then from there, obviously things kind of materialised a little bit. I coached as well at Burscough, which is probably something as being at Skem now, people might not really kind of hear. And that was a bit of an experience, but ironically, Keith McCann, who was the groundsman at Prescott Cables, who got me in there, became the manager at Burscough from groundsman to manager. Oh, right. So it was a bit of a bizarre one. He kind of followed the path of again, Dave Powell. He was the manager there at the time, and I went in and I was there for a little bit, and then again Keith left, and then when he left I kind of went at the same time with a few others, and then it was just kind of dotting around a bit really. So I went to Marine, did a little bit of recruitment with Tommy Lawson, and Sully was there at the time, and then I went from there. I wanted to get back into management and coaching, so I took over at Billings just down the road. So they were in the Cheshire League, Cheshire Prem. Had a season there, and then ironic, a lot of people I seem to meet that do me not favours, but get to know me a lot in sort of the counties and non-league circuit from courses. So Ando was the manager at AFC Liverpool, and I was delivering one day on his level 2 course, and we just got chatting, and then we just got along really well, and he asked me if I'd be interested in coming in with him at AFC. So I went in there with him. I was there for 3 years as an assistant manager. Probably no doubt about it really, to be honest with you, the best relationship I've had with someone in terms of football by far is he got an opportunity to go and work at Chorley as assistant manager on the Priest, which is a testament really, because the work and the effort that he put in, he deserved it. And when he left, it was a couple of weeks just before the season started, and the club at AFC wanted a little bit of stability and consistency and continuity. So I got the job on a basis of a little bit of the end of pre-season, last couple of weeks, and the first 4 games of the season. And then from there we won the first game at Squires Gate, which was a bit of a panic because within the first 5 minutes the goalkeeper made an error and we were 1-0 down. And I was like, what have I let myself in for now? But we came back to win 4-1. And then we played afterwards. It was the FA Cup. So it was Trafford, played Trafford in the FA Cup, and we got an absolute walloping. We lost 6-0 away, and it was the most lonely place I think I've ever been to on the side of that pitch at that point. Then we played Burscough. We demanded a reaction. We got one. We beat Burscough 6-1. Won the next game, and then from there I got the job. And then I was there for obviously season. Had what I think for me a remarkable season, a big achievement with kind of what we had at the club. And again, AFC is a very good club in its infancy, I suppose, of the past 15 years. So to take them to the highest league finish they've ever had, and a couple of other little, I don't want to say sort of token gestures, more like little trophies, little victories and wins along the season has been
which obviously got you noticed, didn't it? And you've just got hit on the point there about how you talking about the defeats and the successes. How do you cope with failure and success as a manager?
It's difficult. I think it's one of those ones where like a lot of time and a lot of effort goes into things. I think you speak to any manager in non-league, it eats up so much of your time. Like even you, or my boss was into this, but your working day, you'll try and sort little bits out and little nitty bits things you need to do. Your evenings are taken up with a lot of things. So, like I say, this week we pre-season started, so we trained on Monday, we trained last night, we've got a game tomorrow. Obviously tonight I'm here, and there's a lot of parts where Saturday I go and watch a game, and it takes quite a lot of your time. So you put a lot of effort into something, and sometimes when you lose, every time when you lose, I find it quite tough because you know that you put a lot of effort in, and no one wants to go out on a pitch, and no one sets up and thinks, well, we're going to lose this game. No one wants to go out to lose. But I think it's one of those ones where you've got to kind of appreciate that the time that people put in, and sometimes things necessarily go against you. But again, at the same time, you flip the coin. When you win games and you've put so much effort and time into it, there's no real better feeling. It's excess of what you get.
Do you take it on the chin? Do you blame it on yourself?
Me personally, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I look back at things like if you. It's one of those ones you can win games, you can be very successful, but you don't learn much. You learn by losing, you learn by failure. I think when we've lost games before and I've turned around and I could question the whole defeat on one exact moment where I've thought about a substitution to make or a little bit of a tactical change and I've gone, I shouldn't have done that. And I've turned around where we played a team last season away and we lost, and the team that we went with, it wasn't the strongest team just because of the time of year. We had a lot of problems with injuries and suspensions, and my initial thought was to go a little bit tight and just kind of soak a little bit of pressure and see if we could eventually nick a result. I didn't, and we went toe to toe and got absolutely outplayed and got a leather in. And then for me, I went up to one of the lads who would have started in the original way and said, "Look, I got it wrong, and I'll accept the decisions because at the same time, the decisions that you've got to make and you live and breathe by them." Again, other times you can make a decision and it works out and it's fantastic, and it's. I think in football you've always got a fig head for certain things, and players will go out. You'll have 11 players against 11 players on a pitch. They'll do what they have to do to win the game, but if you're losing games, the ball usually stops at one person.
I always wondered, in terms of when you go out and you start playing really well, I think things just turn and change, and you end up off the back of a 4-1 defeat or something like that. What's your feeling when a game's going like that? You look as though you're doing really well, and then it turns on either a decision or a mistake, and then you get absolutely drummed, you know.
Yeah, it's momentum, isn't it? You could look at, if you're on top of a game, you'll get chances, but a lot of the time you don't take your chances. You go on the other end and they'll score and they'll win. I can't remember who it was. I'm sure it was someone against Celtic, against Barcelona, and it was Barcelona had 80% possession, so many shots, and entries into final third, and all these other statistics that you see when they're on the TV. And I think Celtic won 1-0 or some other kind of random team. Might not have been Celtic, but you can have the upper hand. But if you don't make if you're not clinical in those right times and the game changes and the game flips, we had one last year where we were playing lower break, and we were just the first half everything went against us in terms of not necessarily a kind of bad way, just performance. We just didn't really seem at it. We went in at half time and we were losing 3-0, and then we went out in the second half and we got a goal back and we went 3-1, and then we got another one, it went 3-2, and we spoke to Dave, who was helping me, as kind of the assistant at the time. The assistant wasn't there for that game, and he said, "What are you thinking with subs?" And I was like, "I just don't really think we need to make one. I think everything's just kind of, there's just momentum and a flow to it. I think if we make something, we change it, changing the whole dynamic." And he went, "Well, don't make a sub." I was like, "Okay." So we didn't, and then we scored again in like the 89th minute, and then we scored again in like the 93rd, 94th, and we won 4-3. And then next round we went and played Southport at Hague Avenue, so we got a reward for what we did with a good occasion, a good night out, which again was when we played Southport, another good performance, but we conceded quite late on. But I think it's one of those ones where you got to manage the momentum and the intensity of the games, and sometimes you've got to know when to slow it down to make a change, other times to just trust what's in front of you to be able to deliver what you want.
So that's a bit of the reverse of what we were talking about in terms of starting off really well and then losing a game. So when you're watching your team, you're 3-0 down at half time, and then you can see the change. Do you feel automatically then that there is a change and things are going your way? Can you see the heads dropping from the other team? Is that what happens? Do players lose confidence very quickly?
I think it depends on the player more than anything. I think that's the one way you look at the mindset of them. I think generationally. I think people are probably a little bit older, a little bit more gritty, and work probably a little bit hard to make a change. I think sometimes you get a lot of younger people these days, which they'll probably, something goes against them a little bit, and they're quite quick to get out of it and to just kind of step away or to quit. And that's nothing about it. There's a fellow called Simon Sinek who did a big podcast, a big interview about it, about people and instant kind of satisfaction and gratification. And I think it's something where it's a mental thing that you have to really work for something. And that's the same in the game of football. It's the same as what it is in life. It's a life skill. I think if you're playing and say if things are going against you, but you're determined enough to want to work harder, and if you've got, again, football's a team game, it's 11v11. If you've got one or two leaders on a pitch, if they can galvanise the rest of the people to kick on, then that's your battle, to want to kind of get that positive outcome. And I think the people that are around and the culture and the environment you create will determine if heads drop or heads don't drop. And you'll see it in the Premier League. You can look at Steven Gerrard, who leads in different ways. When he was obviously at Liverpool, there's games where he pulls something absolutely out of the bag, and that momentum flicked again, where it was like nothing really happened, and he just had that little moment of magic, and the game completely changed. And that's where your leads become important. That's where I think your mindset becomes important. But I think in terms of, I don't know, I think when things happen, I think like anyone, when they watch a game of football, people turn around and say, "Oh, I can feel a goal coming. There's going to be a goal." This one, like, you kind of just sense it as opposed to necessarily seeing it, which probably just happens because your brain twigs onto certain things and attaches that emotion to obviously your past kind of experiences, I guess. But it's the feeling, isn't it? It's the gut feeling you've got to go with.
I've seen it twice with Skem. They were not particularly playing well. They had 2 seasons on the bounce. They were playing Bamber Bridge. They went down to 10 men, and they started playing, and they won. I think they won 3-1 in one and 4-1 in the other. It's strange the way things can change.
Yeah. Well, we had my first ever management job at Bevington. It was my first game, and I think they'd lost every game so far in the season. And we went and played Vauxhall Mortgage Reserves away, and we had a man sent off, and we were 0-0. And again, a lot of positive encouragement from the side, from myself, about what we wanted to do and how we were going to play. And at half time, we talked very clearly about what everyone's roles were and what they needed to do and how we were going to win the game, and people bought into it and believed in it. And we went out and won 2-0. It's quality, but you see the things that you want to get across, and you see it happen, and when it comes into fruition and they get the reward for it.
It sometimes doesn't make sense, does it? You can actually work harder to achieve something and still fail, yet have some, work less and have more success. Yeah,
no, you're right. It's that social loafing theory, isn't there? With more people that are involved, the less you have to work. I think, again, if you go down to 10 men, it's a bit of an us against them mentality, and you've got to step up, and you can't hide, because if you've got a player that hides, then you're down to 9 men effectively.
How do you deal with a player that does give up?
Sub them. Take them off.
Yeah, but long term, do you pick them up or do you drop them completely?
It depends on the person, doesn't it? And people react in things in different ways, and nobody wants to get dropped or not play. But if you give them the reason for it, and they accept it, and they want to work harder, and obviously, there's only 11 shirts, starting shirts that you can have. And the fairest thing to do is to turn around and say, well, if you've got a shirt, it's yours to keep. It's up to someone else to take it off you. And if you've got someone who's behind you, who's working really hard and chomping at the bit to try and take that starting shirt, and you don't perform to those same levels, then they take that shirt, and it's up to them to keep it, and they've got to work harder. Other people might need a little bit of trust, and you've got some players that, if you know them for quite a long period of time, they might go through a dip of form. But if you know them, and you know that sometimes you just got to kind of stick with them, and they'll pull through and people go, there might just be a bit of a sour patch. But it's different people, different reactions, I suppose, and it's knowing those people to work with them and communicate with them and manage them to be able to get the positive outcome that's best for everyone.
Yeah. Now, since you agreed to join the club, Skelmersdale United, I've realised that you're clearly ambitious. You've bought into the dream of the regeneration of the club when you could have took the easy option of staying at AFC Liverpool after an extremely successful season last season. So what made you come to Skem?
I think you're looking at, obviously, I said before, I live in Ormskirk, so it's probably the most local club to me. So I know a lot of people in the area obviously speak quite highly of the club. Like, I know a lot of people that used to go and watch Skem when they were young. I know a lot of people from Skem. And it's one of those ones where you're looking at the club, it's got 141 years of history. It's got success, which has been throughout its 141 years. You've got obviously the 1971 Cup, when you've got even a couple of years ago, like, a lot of people look at it at the moment and think it's a little bit of doom and gloom, but 2 years ago, in the first round proper of the FA Cup, It was,
and a promotion that followed it, and that was
that was
after the period where we'd been kicked out of Stormy Corner and ground sharing at Prescott Cables for a while before we moved over to the JMO.
and
So success is always round the corner, you know.
yeah. And it happens, and obviously that's a testament to a lot of hard work that went in with obviously Paul McNally when he was here with Graham Hastings, and it wasn't an overnight success straight away. When he took over at the back part of the season where I think they got relegated, if I'm right. And then from there, then obviously
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he's obviously then he's built something, and he's got the memories he'll have from that first round, probably the FA Cup and the promotion. They'll be unreal. He finished second in the league to Macclesfield, who are going back to back with silly budgets. So it's something to be proud of. And I think in terms of Skem, there is that rich history that's there. I think you've got a club where it's fallen to this kind of point, but there's nothing to stop it really turning, and we can kick on and drive it forward.
just a pity it was in the lockdown, wasn't it? The FA Cup.
Yeah.
Because they'd have had a few bob in gate revenue as well. I don't know how much they made, but it would have been significantly higher. It's far from ideal ground sharing as we are now with Bearscope, but we're in the same position as AFC Liverpool. How frustrating has it been for them? Because they've never actually had their own home. And I don't want to put you on the spot there, because that sounds as though you're having a pop at them, but we share something in common, and it's quite annoying from a supporter's point of view. AFC Liverpool now been going since, 2008? 2008.
Yeah.
It's difficult, isn't it? Playing away from home all the time.
Yeah, I think it is, definitely. But again, I think one of the ones with AFC Liverpool is the facilities and Marine are quality. Like, obviously Marine have gone on the back of a good FA Cup run and invested money to develop the ground in ways where it set them up. But the whole club really, their crowds and everything have gone up obviously through the roof past couple of seasons as well. But again, you can have a club, and it sounds a bit contradictory what we're saying about obviously Skem and wanting to get Skem back in the town, but the heart of what the club is the community, the people that are there, I suppose, if you're looking at it that way. And I know AFC been going for 15 years, and they've gone for 15 years with a purpose of the people that bought into it and there, and a lot of those people are still there 15 years on, and that won't really change. They're there and they're happy, and they want the club to be successful, and they'll buy into it, they'll go home, they'll go away, and the support, especially when you go away from home at AFC, there's a core group of people that will go there, and they'll sing for 90 minutes, which is, it's unbelievable. And it'll be, obviously Skem will be the same part with no ground, but if you get a good group of obviously fans out there that, again, they can sense the revitalisation is what you kind of say, and how there's the positive memories and a lot of history that's been taken part to then drive that forward and support the club more, and go to the away games. Got the Isle of Man, trip to the Isle of Man, like, you'll get people that'll go there will absolutely love it. Again, it'll be a memory that will last forever. Do you know what I mean? Did
you have a story about the Isle of Man?
What, an appropriate story, or?
Well, can you tell it?
Yeah, we went, well, yeah. I can tell you the football story.
Tell us the after-match story.
I don't know which one of the after-match stories that you want to know.
Go on, go on. You know it better than I do.
Well, I think it's for the one that you kind of be thinking about. It's, I mean, the day when we were there, it's an amazing occasion, Isle of Man, when you fly and you go in there. So you go into the airport, you've got a list of players that you can take, and there's a little bit of organisation that goes into it behind the scenes, and you get to the airport, you get flown over, you get picked up by the coach takes you either, depending on what time the game is, either to your hotel, you can drop your stuff off, then go to the game, or you can go straight to the game, and then you'll go back afterwards with your stuff, and you get your accommodation paid for, and you come out the next day. So it is a little bit in a way, and again, you speak to people now, I think the Isle of Man will be the first fixture people try and find. That's a way. And like I said, hospitality when you're there is incredible. The hotel that we stayed in, they were very, very sort of accommodating. We went the last Saturday before Christmas, so it was, I think we were the only people that were in that hotel. We went there because of the delays in a flight, which is only about 20 minutes, but the delay seemed to go on forever. We landed quite late, and then we had an option when we got to the coach to either go straight to the ground and have a bit of quiet time, or go to the hotel and basically drop our bags off and then go to the game. But it was kind of recognisable on the coach when we were going there. Everyone was a little bit excited because straight after the game was essentially our Christmas night out.
Yeah.
It was last Saturday before Christmas. So we got there, we got to the hotel, I was like, right, drop your stuff off, meet downstairs in like 5 minutes. So about 10, 15 minutes later, I'm sat downstairs, I'm the only person there. You can just hear all these like footsteps like running around upstairs. So they came down anyway, and we're on the coach and we went to the game, and again everyone's like a little bit excited. So we had quite a deep chat before the game about the actual reason why we're there. Like, obviously, we're there for a football game. We're there for 3 points, and more than anything else, again, it's recognising that when we're going over there, we had a group of fans that had. I mean, for us, people might not know, but the Isle of Man, as part of them being in the league, they have to pay for.
They have to pay for everything, don't they?
Yeah, they have to pay for basically 25 players or staff, or a combination of 25 people for their flights and accommodation there and back, and obviously the transfers in the Isle of Man. So players, and when we're there, and staff and management, obviously we don't pay anything. But you got to remember that the fact is that there is a group of people that have given up their whole weekend. They have paid their own money in whatever way, by boat or ferry or same thing, or fly, to go over there and stay in a hotel and basically support your team and to play. So we had a bit of a chat about that, and we got a bit of focus, and we went and we won. And we won 2-0. And then from there we went back to the hotel, and then we went out and carried on drinking for a long period of time, which was, well, for me, for too long. Probably had about half an hour's sleep, which combined a little bit of sleepwalking and getting locked out of my hotel room. And very
you didn't miss the aeroplane?
No, didn't miss the aeroplane. No, when we flew back, it was the
what are the aeroplanes like, by the way? Because I hate flying.
Oh, the tiny with 2 propellers.
Oh, crikey! And you feel everything.
It depends if you. I don't seem to be too bad with flying.
I'm hoping we get them while I'm away.
You scared the boat.
Well, I might get the boat.
3-hour boat journey, but it's a tiny little plane. You can kind of, you see the propeller. One of the lads, he was kind of scared of flying. He was looking at it and was basically saying to him, the thing is, you can see the propeller, but it's exactly the same as when you get in an EasyJet one. It's just not got the casing around it. I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing.
It's not.
And he was like, all right, okay, yeah. And he kind of jumped on it, and he was all right. But you kind of you're up and down. It's not a really difficult fly. It's remarkably kind of close how quick the flight is, but obviously how close it is. But it's the flight back, that was delayed, so we watching the World Cup final in the airport.
Yeah, right.
And it was good. It was good.
Yeah, because the World Cup was
that weekend. It was on
just
the Sunday
before Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Can they maintain that, the Isle of Man? What they're doing now?
It's.
Where are they getting the funding from?
I don't know too much ins and outs of it, of where they get the funding from. I mean, you hear rumours about where they get things from, and people say that I think the Isle of Man's the oldest government in the world, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I think they said that the government are quite strong in funding it, because again, I suppose it links a little bit in with tourism.
Do you think it links in with mental health as well? That's well, possibly.
I've no idea. I don't know. But I suppose there's other obviously islands that have done the same thing. So Jersey Bulls, they're in. I can't remember if it's step 5 or in fact they are step 5. So they'll probably have something similar. I suppose one of those ones that gives your island a little bit of not say giving an identity because they've already got one anyway, but a little bit more, and it gives you people on the island potentially then who you might have a little hotbed of talent, where you might have a few players that are on there that will want to go and play football and make a career of it, but they don't really get the opportunity. I suppose from being in the North West Counties, if they're playing, then they'll have that opportunity, and historically they'll probably have lads that will reach 18, then come over to England and go to university and kind of see what happens. But
I don't know what the population is over in the Isle of Man, but I would imagine if they were stuck to playing their own teams there, they'd probably be playing each other 4 or 5 times a season, wouldn't they?
Yeah, the domestic league, I don't really know. I know obviously when I spoke to not the current manager, the previous one, and we talked about it a little bit, and I don't know, people came to see the Isle of Man that it's a massive club that'll, a bit like Macclesfield, and they'll just rise and rise and rise. But I think the population, it's the size of Burnley.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about a team in Burnley, it's like, right, you can only recruit your players from Burnley and your management and your staff and your supporters. So you can't go and get someone from Blackburn. You can't go and get someone from Manchester. You can't get someone from Bradford, which obviously isn't that too far. You're literally restricted to what you've got on the island. So you can, that's your population. You're looking at the demographic of people aged between 18, 35 that are male that will be able to play at a decent level. Your pool of players probably isn't that big. You're probably only looking at, 30 to 50 players maybe.
Yeah.
It's not, obviously from a mathematical point of view to look at it, but that'll probably be the limit, I suppose. But then not limit, because again, it's that ignition, and if they have players that are there, younger players, and they see that there's this pathway to go and play football and get a lot of recognition, and you're almost a celebrity when you're over there, then those players might work a little bit harder. You might get better players that then come through, and that pathway grows. It's an interesting concept.
So I take it the time of the season that you want to face them again is probably around about the build up to Christmas, isn't it?
I don't know, we've done it now. It's it was a heavy hangover. I don't know if August would be a better one to go, better time of year at the start of the year.
Sun.
Yeah,
that's if they have sun over there. I don't know.
No, I think it's
a little bit, do they?
Yeah, Douglas at the front. It was lovely. We've got a proper little sort of beach that went all the way around. It's that was nice.
Looks beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
But talking about your games, that's one of them that you're looking forward to. But obviously, being born and bred in Bury, you're going to be playing Bury.
Yeah, that would be
Bury. I don't know how you pronounce it these days.
Bury for me.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. Obviously, we played Bury FC last season, and they obviously foundationed on the back of obviously the old owner of Bury Football Club not submitting accounts, and Bury and other little bits, and kind of getting kicked out of the league. So
they were ground sharing, weren't they?
Yeah, they were ground sharing.
They're back at Gig Lane now.
Back at Gig Lane, and again that's a big part of it for me. So it's not even just Gig Lane; it's the name, it's the history, the whole part of it, that whole feel. It kind of comes back to it, and that's again you've got a 12,000 seater stadium in the North West Counties Prem, and it's a stadium that's bigger than Bournemouth's, who were a Premier League team. So it's it's going to be a special occasion. So I spoke to my dad, asked him if he's interested in going. He was like, oh yeah. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to go there, and again, I think at the start of the season, I think the crowds there will be very, very big. I think they'll be huge. So Bury at the start of the season will be quite a nice one. Bigger
than Macclesfield?
I think there will be. I think it's look historically, you look when Bury in the league. I think they were sort of League 1, League 2. They were getting, when they just kind of not floating about, but just kind of not really pushing for anything. They were getting about sort of 3,000. Macclesfield in the League 2 were getting 1.5.
And they were averaging over 1,000, weren't they? At the ground share.
But last season, Bury.
Last season,
yeah, they were, and I think it's one of those ones where you had a fan base of a town that was pretty split. So you had everyone who wanted Bury Football Club, and then you had obviously the group that wanted to go and support a local team in non-league and have something in your town. So merging them together, you'd think that you just got a lot more support that's there straight off the bat. And even if you double your crowd and you're getting 2,000 North West Counties, it would be unreal. But I think it will be, especially at the start. And again, if you look at Macclesfield and kind of what you were saying before, if it would be bigger, I think Macclesfield got kicked out. Macclesfield went bust completely.
Yeah.
So Macclesfield was a new Macclesfield, and they got a lot of publicity through obviously Robbie Savage being involved, and your crowds went up from what were 1,500 in League 2 to 5,000 in the North West Counties Prem, and they won the league. The season that they won the league, we were their last game of the season, so we saw them win the trophy. Now, obviously, success breeds success, and the crowd started really high, and it carried on going. I think if you look at Bury, it's obviously different than what Macclesfield was, because there's been so much not sure what's happening and just being left out to dry a little bit, I suppose, by a lot of authorities and other parts of it. I'd like to think that if you've had football and Bury Football Club not been playing for a couple of years now, but now you've got a chance to unite the whole town again with that football club, and that's... People probably laugh when you hear you say it, but they're a big club. Yeah. They won the FA Cup twice. Man City only equalled the record of the highest ever FA Cup final win the other season. Yeah. And I like to think that there's probably a purpose for a lot of people to go back now. And I think the crowds they'll get, I think they'll be big. I think they'll be strong.
And it's a lovely little setup as well, isn't it?
Gig Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching two finals. Skem played in the I think it would have been the League Cup at the time. and they won one, lost one, and it was fabulous just going there. But we had FC United in the playoff final there as well, and that generated a fairly big gate in itself.
Yeah. Well, if I forgot FC United played there. That was the first ground that they played on when they were formed, weren't Gig Lane, and so they've got the
I wonder that's where the financial problems started, because they lost FC United, didn't they? They couldn't afford to carry on.
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs how FC United would have paid and on the other parts of it. I don't know.
It was a lot of money. I can't remember the figures, but it was too much for a club at that level.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you look at Bear. I remember when they were in old Division 1, they turned around and said they needed gates, so I think 5,000, and they were getting 3.5.
Yeah.
And there was always financial problems there, when there was always talk about them. Again, what happened to Macclesfield, just going bust, and it never really materialised. And obviously what happened in the end was an owner who just didn't really manage the club in the way that he needed to, and they got kicked out of the league, which is why obviously the name and everything can still carry on. So it's it'll be interesting, but I think they'll go on a rise. I think, again, looking at pre-season at the moment, I know Andy Welsh, with the recruitment that he's done, it's been quite scary, to be honest with you. Some of the people that he's signed people from higher. He signed Benito Lowe within short time last season. They've signed a lot of players that are quality. So it'll be a bit of a...
Doesn't always work either, though, does it? Because we went toe-to-toe with Chester and got pipped on goal difference.
Yeah. I think you look at this league's always been difficult to get out of. Obviously, when Macclesfield did it, they were getting 5,000. They had a lot of money to throw at it because the gates they were getting were so big. So if you got the money, you might as well spend it. It's pointless not to. Otherwise, you're just sitting on money that's never going to get used. And they obviously won the league, and Skem came second. But even when you finished second, you were going into a playoff against a team from the league above. So in theory, it's hard to get out of, because you should be the underdog in that one. Whereas obviously next season it's changed, so you've got second, third, fourth and fifth going to a playoff. And
I know, that's what I was just going to say.
and then one goes up.
Yeah.
So again, last season we were top four for majority of the season.
Yeah.
We finished sixth. So you'd think that in terms of progression, in one place increase, you're in the playoffs. But then you're looking at every other team in the league, which, again, there's 24 teams in it. It's a hefty division. You've got 46 league games. It's the same as the Championship. But then you've got the FA Cup, the Vars, you've got the Macron Cup on top, you've got your county cups. There's a lot of football to be played. And you're looking at where these clubs going to put the focus now. So a lot might throw more money at it, thinking, well, last season, if you're about January time and you were 8th, 9th or 10th, you're quite far off getting the playoffs. Whereas this season, coming into it, you're not going to be too far away. You get a couple of good results, and there's a little bit of a push. So I think it's going to be a very difficult season. Very difficult season for everyone.
You're looking at a second place finish, really, aren't you? Because you get priority in the draw then, don't you? So you're playing at home.
Yeah, but I'd like to think at the City.
I think everybody's looking at second place, aren't they, behind Bury?
All right, sorry, yeah. As in not looking for first. Yeah, I mean, again, Bury will be the favourites. Bury will be the favourites for it. There's no doubt about it.
Do you think they can go on do what Salford have done?
I suppose it's a little bit different. I suppose you're looking at Salford. Salford obviously always in...
There's the Razzmatazz, isn't there? The class of 92.
Yeah.
Like you say, with Macclesfield, there's the Robbie Savage thing.
Yeah.
Bury haven't really got that, have they? They've got the stadium, but no Razzmatazz. Am I wrong?
Get into a fight, man, you and you. You say with Wrexham, isn't it? You've got Wrexham, obviously, sort of Reynolds and the other fella.
Razzmatazz.
They took over, and they've probably realised they had to throw a lot of money to get it where they are, and it's starting to pay off. You're looking at, again, the class of 92.
They actually made money though, didn't they, Wrexham?
Probably.
The money that they put in, they got back.
Yeah, with the sponsor. What's the Airways that sponsors them now?
Oh, I can't remember.
I think it's like the biggest global airplane company in the world or something. But again, class of 92, you've got them that took over, and you've got that publicity behind it, and it all kind of takes off. But that investment that goes into it, I suppose your Macclesfield and Bury are a little bit different, because you've got the histories of, Wrexham have got history, but you've got the history of obviously Macclesfield and Bury, and a bit of a sad story what's happened. And then you're hoping if you get it right and you can clear it and you can push it through, then that'll kind of work out. I mean, Chester's probably a similar one, I suppose, isn't it? But Chester obviously went down to the bottom, but didn't have the same exposure media of what you'd get from Macclesfield and Bury.
And they're struggling to kick on again, aren't they? And a little bit like Razzmatazz again, they've not got the X Factor, have they?
Yeah,
I'll get hounded for that now. I just realised I've said that.
yeah.
I've had a fallout with Chester before, I better be careful.
Everyone at Chester.
I think they'll understand. I mean, you look at Robbie South. Well, okay, I'll give you the question then. Who's going to get further up the ladder, Macclesfield or Bury? I mean, obviously Macclesfield are already up a...
It's Bury, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's with my...
You've got to say that, yeah. Otherwise,
my
you'll be bad.
rose tinted glasses on there, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's I think if I said anything else, I'd be wrong. Yeah. But I think I don't know.
But if you put money on it,
if I put money on it, I'd still say Bury.
Would you?
Yeah.
All right. Interesting one.
Yeah. I don't know. Some people call me shit. I might be a little bit naive. It's heart over head maybe, or just a starting point of where they are. But I think a lot of it will depend. And again, not to put any pressure on Andy or anyone else, but if this season's a big season. I think it's one of those ones where if you start really bright for them and they obviously they're at the top and they have a good FA Cup run and not forgetting the Vars run they had last season, they've got a very, very good year. But again, people want to go to Gig Lane, and I suppose the Macclesfield the same thing. You're going in there and there's not many people that would have played in front of a crowd of 5,000 people before.
No.
When you play in the football ground and you're in a stadium, you look around and like, it feels like football. I don't say it feels like football because it's probably the wrong way to kind of say about it, but you just got a whole atmosphere that's around. Yeah. Like, we're on the pitch doing the warm up and I'm trying to talk to someone and they can't really hear you because you've got so much noise that's going around that's all focusing towards that pitch. It's difficult to kind of hear it and kind of get the message across. And it's you go in there one week and then you go in somewhere else where you've got 30 fans, one man and his dog. Yeah, it's like it's just different. But it'll
be fun for some of the players going to the better game.
Like I say, I think we go in there and if they don't sell out, they don't get 12,000 people through. But if they're getting 3, 4, 5,000 people there, and you'll hear them and they'll be noisy, and then again that'll be a memory for a lot of people. Like me, it would probably be one of my biggest memories in football. Yeah. I just hope that we win and I get booed.
Yeah. But if you do really well, you might be potentially their next manager. Doing ourselves one of the best managers. Talking about AFC Liverpool, if they'd have been, just going back briefly, if they had have had playoffs last season and you'd have got into the playoffs and won, how difficult do you think it would have been for AFC Liverpool in the Northern Premier League?
I think you're looking at any team that goes in the Premier League, it's difficult. You can look at the teams that have just come down to kind of. You're looking at you've got Gloucester just come down, you've got Colne that have just come down. Again, it's Skem that have got obviously demoted. Someone else that I'm missing, Ramsbottom just come down. They're all historically big clubs, and they've all found their way into the counties. And if they're struggling in that league above, it's difficult for any team to go in and be able to do well. It sounds a little bit daft again because Macclesfield had gone in and obviously kicked on, but the structure that in place for those established clubs is very, very hard. It's not. I think if you go into any club going in for promotion, you're stepping up a level. It'll be very difficult. I think clubs will find it this season. I think you're looking at the boys that have come down from the league above. I think teams will play against them and they'll find that it is difficult. And it's like there is a big jump and a big difference in level between excuse me, the North West Counties Prem and the Northern Prem. Yeah,
and it's difficult really because I don't think clubs are prepared for going up an awful lot. Financially, certainly not. And then when you look at supporters, do you think supporters expect too much?
What, from promotion?
Well, expect too much of the club. I always say to people have a realistic approach to what a club's natural level is. I look at Skem right now and obviously the problems that it's had. Its natural level is right where it is now. But things could change quickly. Get back into Skem, and things could kick on again. But right now we're at our natural level. It's good for some teams not to qualify, not to get through to those playoffs because they probably be. I was going to use bad language then, but it would probably be a bit of a worry going up for an awful lot of teams.
Yeah. Again, it's the memories, isn't it? It's the enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
I think it's Like if you turn around last season, if there was the playoffs, we got in the playoffs and we won and went up, I think everyone would be. I think whatever happened the following season, you're a bit of party mode. You enjoy the ride of whatever happens, and you do your best and you compete. Probably similarly, you look at teams that go from the Championship to the Premier League, you think, oh, they're going to get absolutely leathered every single week. And I think you look at some teams, I think in the Premier Championship, we weren't quite far off last season. But if you look at a team that's been in the Championship and never been in the Premier League, would they take it for one season go to the Premier League? Like, the journey you're going to look at Luton, for example, is probably the one that we're looking at. If you like Luton, if they went to the Premier League next season, everyone's expecting them to get battered every week. But I think those fans will have the time of their life. I think they'll enjoy it. And I think I'd like to think that we get carried away, don't we? Like you have a little bit of success and you're watching a game and you might go 1 or 2-0 up and you're thinking, all right, we want more. Like Liverpool beating United last season. Yeah. Was it 7-0 in the end?
Yeah.
You're thinking they'll probably want 8. They want 9. And so I was like, you're happy with 7, but you probably want a little bit more. But I think it's again, it's important that you kind of reassess and reevaluate and look where things are. And I think if you're doing well, and like I say, I think everyone, especially last season at AFC, they'd look around and they'd recognise that the season we had was an amazing season, and everyone will look back at it and think, be happy. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of positives to take from it. Again, from league runs, from obviously cup runs, from even the day out at Southport when we went there and we played, and it's against those occasions where not a lot of people necessarily play there in a league game, in a cup game, and you're playing against players that naturally play. I'm trying to think how many leagues above it was. 4 leagues above us, and we held our own for 89 minutes, and we conceded off a set piece. Yeah. Thinking if we held on for a little bit longer, or one little chance that we had, if we'd scored that, we would have beaten Southport away and gone through. But it's one of those things that happens at times. It's the memories that you create.
And what can Skem supporters expect from Matt Potter and his team? What style of football?
So, yeah, I mean, this season, obviously, it's been, the way that we played last season, I like to think we got described as the best kind of counter-attacking team that was in the league by a couple of managers. We scored the 4th most goals in the league. This is going back a couple of months now, so I can't remember to give accurate information. Our home record was the 2nd best in the league, and we played. We wanted to play, and that's something that would continue. Something where we want to make sure that we've got a profile of player that is hardworking, dedicated, they're committed to what we want to do, and they want to play. And they're making sure that when people are paying to come and watch, that they're putting a performance in that they'll be proud of and they want to see. And that's something that will continue. And we're looking at the moment to get a mixture of a lot of players with experience and a lot of players that have got a lot of promise and potential. And I'd like to think, especially the ones the younger lads that we're getting in, and I'm not going to discredit some of the more experienced ones, that they'll want to push on and kick on to another level. But that's not necessarily built in one day. I'm not going to turn around and say that at the start of the season you're going to see the most fluent attacking football you've ever seen. But we'll be working towards it. And we're working towards something that people will be proud of and people want to put the name to. They'll be thinking, I want to go there every week and I want to go and watch and pay my money. And it's something that we've...
I think it'll certainly be music to most supporters' ears, because they'd love to see a good attacking style of football. We're going to say to you, who would you compare your style of management with? Just to give people an insight.
What, as in the way that we play?
Yeah.
It's a difficult question because things kind of evolve, I guess, don't they?
Who would you compare yourself as a manager?
As a manager?
First, yeah.
You can't answer that question without being kind of...
Are you a Klopp?
What, loud and angry?
Yeah.
Not if everything's gone alright, no. But I don't know. Anyhow, he did alright, didn't he?
Oh yeah. You've got a look about you. You do. You look a bit like him, don't you?
I was tempted to say Graham Potter just because the name resemblance, but that would probably have gone down well. If he was still at Brighton, I probably would say Graham Potter. But again, I don't know. I think every kind of management job that I've had, I like to think that we've always overachieved, and not mean that in a negative or derogatory way about things, but we've always performed better than what people necessarily would have thought. And that was the same at except for what I said before about being at Bebington, we got a tune out of some brilliant players, and then from that tune, a team higher up came in, and again we did well in my goal that season. We probably achieved more than what we should have done. We were in for the title for the most part of the season, and then towards the end we played South Liverpool, who were top. If we won that game, we would have had a bit more of a sniff of potentially winning it. And in essence, we lost, so we didn't. And again, AFC, we've always performed well. Again, stepping up from the league when obviously me and Ando were there into the counties Prem, we had a season of consolidation. You look at resource of what other clubs have got, which again has grown this season. We overachieved. We did really, really well. I think that's something we want. I'd like to think that you give us a team that would, if you put a group of players in front of me and said you've got to work with them for 6 weeks, we think they'd finish 15th. I'd like to finish at least 10th. Yeah. I mean, we're just getting that little bit more out of people is something that I'd like to think would not quite easily do, because a lot of hard work goes into everything. Yeah. But myself and obviously the team that are coming on board.
So, in terms of manager, you compare yourself to Pep. In terms of your attacking style of football, Man City.
Right.
Can we have a commitment? What style of football would you compare yourself with?
I think it's important to be flexible. And there's a base.
You're not going to answer this
question.
No,
I'm not. I'm not going to turn around and compare myself to Pep. I'm not going to turn around and compare myself thinking. I don't know. It's difficult. I like to think I'm my own person at the same time.
But in terms of looking at a football club now, if you were looking at one of the Premiership teams, what kind of attacking football are we looking at?
I'd like to think it was possession. I think a lot of people now, you talk to people and possession football and attacking football becomes buzzwords essentially.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of real meaning behind it. And it's we play this way, or we want to play, and it just becomes a little bit the norm. I'd like to think that I could turn around and say that there's an identity and a style behind what we want to do and how we want to play, both when we're defending and when we're attacking, and there's a purpose behind it. I'd like to encourage people to come down and make their own judgment about what that comparison would be. If they think it's City-esque, amazing. If they think it's Liverpool-esque, amazing.
As long as it's not Everton-esque.
I was going to say, if they say it's Everton, then
I'm an Everton supporter.
As long as we're not Chelsea or Tottenham, or we're doing okay.
And how's the pre-season gone so far? You had trials as well as
so we started last week. We had 20. Well, we looked at it. There's me and obviously a couple of other people that are sort of involved at the moment who will look to kind of announce a bit more sort of in the coming weeks. That's been quite full on with recruitment. So we've got a list of about 33 people that we wanted to speak to. So first training session we had 23, and pre-season is always a difficult time of year because again it's holiday time. People go away, they'll go wherever else. Obviously last weekend was Glastonbury, so people go away for that. So you'll always have quite a lot of people that are not there because it's basically the summer. So 23 people turned up. So 2 sessions last week. In that time when we were kind of actively trying to kind of recruit, there was a lot of people that were getting in touch directly to me through social media, or people I'd known before asking questions about potentially coming down. But knowing that we kind of had a list of 33 people, we didn't want to add on to it to make it 50, 60, because you lose quality and you can't really see what you need to see. So we had the idea of an open trial because we had a free Saturday because we couldn't play the fixtures. So it helped because lads that we brought down for pre-season, it's, well, you've done 2 sessions now, you have a free Saturday, see your family. We'll do a little bit more next week. So we're playing Friday night tomorrow, so they've got another free Saturday. So you've got 2 free Saturdays, and then you're into it then till April, where you're probably not going to have a free Saturday again for a while. So the trials were one where we thought there's an opportunity there to have a look at these people, and the ones that have expressed an interest, and might be, well, as people started playing when we put it out, there was a few that have played higher, there's a few that have played abroad, there were a lot of young lads that hadn't really had an opportunity. So we thought it's a platform more than anything else. If we put a platform on and there's 1 or 2 people that come in and think we've got a bit of a gem there, then we take them. And you're looking at a lot of clubs have done it. I think Macclesfield have done it every year, and quite a few others, and obviously Bursk on the doorstep have done it. Garstang did it. So I worked with Garstang's manager up at Myesco, and he said it was, for them, he said it was a success. He said it was amazing. It was quality.
Because we got a bit of criticism for that, didn't we?
We did, and I think it's one of those ones. I mean, to be honest with you, previously I probably looked at it and I would have kind of thought, there's no point. You should know who you want. You should be able to get them. But then again, times change, and like I say, when I spoke to Zach, he was like the quality, and I thought if you did it, you'll get a few people in there that probably never kicked a ball, and it'll be awful, and you're just wasting your time. But again, when I spoke to Zach, he said the quality was really good, and there was a couple that he picked up on it. So we did it, and like I said, we put a form out on the social media. When they started to come through, we asked about a little bit of playing background and history, and there was some that were very good. I mean, there was someone who played for Nigeria under 14s to 16s apparently, but I'd say that with a little bit of a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
And there's others that have played either at this level or higher, some that have played lower, variety in parts of ages. Like I say, we're looking at sort of 80 people that applied.
Yeah.
So then by being able to obviously use Latham High School and get it on, we got a good look at people, and it's
good for the town, really, isn't it? Inviting people for trials.
Yeah,
and it lets them know what's expected, what level of football you're...
Yeah, and it was open. And it's one of those ones where, again, I didn't really put on where people were based from. So how many were actually from Skem, I don't really know. No. I know there was a couple. There was a few that obviously come from further away and further afield, but it's been involved. People can't really turn around and say, well, Matt's not giving a chance to anyone locally, because we put it out there and we've done it. Now, look, we're not going to invite every one of those players down to pre-season, because logistically it'd be a nightmare, and realistically there's a lot that aren't good enough, and that's just a different level and standard of football of what it is. But there's a couple that we have spoken to, and they're worth a little bit of a shot to have a look at.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's someone who's turned around and said that they've just played five-a-side for the entire life, or do you know what I mean, the 46 and they've just given it a go. Like the people that have had a little bit of pedigree, and lads that have been either in levels before that might have been out for it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And there's a few that are on there that we've spoken to, or a couple of up and coming that have been around it, or ones that have just kind of just slipped through the net a little bit. So it was good. It was good, and it's something again where my view on it's changed a little bit, and I don't see any harm in it. I think if you got that free time, we might as well spend that free time doing something that will benefit the club.
Yeah.
And if we didn't do anything, it would be very easy for me to have gone out on the Friday, got absolutely leathered, gone out on the Saturday, and made a great day out of that, doing whatever I wanted to do. But instead we invested.
Well, let's talk about what we did, because we went from the trials to Droylsden for the league meeting.
Yeah.
And I got a speeding ticket. Now, since I've met you, I've had nothing but bad luck, because first of all, you give me a lead for a sponsor through someone else that you knew, or and I got a parking ticket while I was speaking to him. So a parking ticket and now a speeding ticket. I've done well.
At least one speeding ticket.
Pardon?
At least one speeding ticket.
Oh, well, at least one, because we've gone over the Mancunian way, so it could be two.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind. We got there late, didn't we? 45 minutes late.
Yeah.
Which was a good thing in the end, wasn't it?
Half an hour.
Was it half an hour?
Yeah, it was only half an hour.
Yeah. But it was a good thing in the end, getting there late, wasn't it?
So,
because you were nearly falling to sleep before the end of it, weren't you?
Well, it was, it had been a long day. We'd done the trials in the morning, so it was been out in the sun for too long.
Good answer there.
It was quite tiring, and we didn't have time to stop for a coffee, so I was flagging a little bit by that point.
Yeah. And just talking briefly about the troubles at Skem, it's well documented what's gone on. We've sort of hit the bottom, but we're working our way up. There's plans to move back into Skem. That could happen sooner rather than later. So that's why basically you bought into the ambition of the football club, because there is a bit of ambition, there's a dream, we're focused on that. So what would you say to the people of Skem, and not just Skem, West Lancashire? There's no reason why the entire population of West Lancashire can't embrace with Skem, is there?
Yeah, and there is. I think that's, again, I said a little bit before about the history of what the club has. The day when obviously I accepted the job is back in May, and there was a night market on in Ormskirk, and I must have had about 3 pints bought for me of people just congratulating me and other parts of it. And there was someone who went for a couple of drinks afterwards in a bar, and one of my mates, he takes great pleasure in introducing me to people now as Matt Potter is the manager of Skem United. And then the fellow who said it to was like, and I know him, I've known him for a long period of time, and he said, "Well, are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he went, "Oh my God," he went, and he started telling me his story how he used to watch Skem when he was a kid with his dad.
Yeah.
and he's turned around and he said that his dad would be really, his dad's not with him anymore, but he said that his dad would be really proud, and he almost started to well up a little bit.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of, I think everyone who's ever been to a Skem game when they were kind of growing up, and again that's a nice story to hear. We had a volunteer night the other week, and there was a fella there who's, I can't remember how old he is now, 82, and he was on the coach on the way down to 1971.
Yeah.
And you've got, like I say, it's just a period of time where I speak to people now in Ormskirk and they'll say, oh, I used to go and watch Skem, I've done this, or whatever else. And it's like, it's quality. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those ones where I think if you can unite all those people and you can take an interest and come down, you remove a ceiling over what the club is, and you can look at, again, I know we touched on it quite a bit, your Macclesfields and your Bury that have been through these really tough times, and they come out on it and they're seeing the other side of it because the community's bought into it. And I think that's one of the important things, is that Skem's got a population of 42,000 people. There's no reason why, apart from obviously ground grading, why you can't get such a big crowd of people coming in. And I think at the same time, it's, in terms of West Lancashire, there's two clubs. Do you know what I mean? And there's no reason why people in Ormskirk can't get down to Burscough to watch us play.
It's not that far down the road, is it?
No, it's not. And at the same time, there's people in Burscough. There's no reason why you've got a football club, well, effectively you've got two. There's no reason why they can't come and watch Skem on a Saturday. It's on your doorstep, and
the more the merrier, because that helps with the progress.
Yeah, it does.
That Skem are intended to make.
And it's an exciting thing to be part of. And I think the plans of everything, it's one of those ones now where we can talk about stories in the history of Skem and Skem United and football, but you could be something where you could be part of it, where you turn around and in 5-10 years time you could be saying, I was watching Skem and they were playing over there and we're part of this ground now.
Yeah.
And we've had this success and this is built. And you can say that you've been there for 10 years watching it and being a part of it. You might just buy a season ticket and come down. You might buy a season ticket and come to the odd game. You might come to every single game, home and away. You might come to the Isle of Man. And again, the football club gets back into Skem, and that first day you might be having a drink with someone and talking about that trip to the Isle of Man. You might be talking about that trip at Bury. You might be talking about 2 years ago, the FA Cup first round, and all these memories of people that have over the time.
I like the stories from the past. It makes you more determined to be a success, because you realise it's had a rich pedigree, the football club, and you want that to continue, and it makes you more determined to be a success.
Yeah, I think it's again, that success has been there, and it's about building it now, and it's recognising that there's a lot of hard work that's going in place to make that happen, and that's obviously, I know, hard work behind the club and obviously on the football side of it, and that success comes easier with support, and that's people that buy into it. And for me, I'm quite an open book. I'm quite an honest character. Well, I'm an honest character. And if someone came to a game and they paid the money to get in and they wanted to have a chat afterwards about something, I'd give them that time. I'd love to turn around and say that we'll get 1,000 people the next game, and there's a queue of 1,000 people wanting to question the decision that they think have got wrong. But it's one of those ones that people take a genuine interest, and you get that a lot in non-league. But you've got that exposure there where, obviously, if you're a Liverpool fan or an Everton fan, you can have your frustrations, but you can't turn around and necessarily speak to the manager afterwards about what they've done. And look, I'm not putting a target on my back here. I don't want everyone to come up to me and criticise and ask for every little bit of detail about things, because it'd be too much information. But I'll quite happily have a chat about a game with someone and turning points and moments and things that happen in it. And it's something where it's quite transparent. I think it's something where I feel it would be a good time for people to come and watch.
And we're going to work on that community aspect as well, aren't we? You know, a sort of open forum with the manager at some stage during the season, so supporters can come along and ask questions and speak to the directors of the football club and see what their ambitions are as well. Because I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that at the end of last season and the bad news that we were getting demoted, an awful lot of people had written the club off and thought that was it, they're finished, and we've got to prove that we're not. Yeah,
and it's understandable. It is understandable, and you see that. And from one side of it, where the club is run, to one side where the football side of it is run, like obviously this has been my first close season as a kind of manager in non-league. So we finish the season, it's right, that's done. What's next? And you know that managers speak to all these players, and you speak to players, and you're trying to get people through the door for pre-season. And the first pre-season session in the day, you question, you're like, what if nobody turns up? What if nobody's here? And then we put a session on, people have, and people are there, and we've had good numbers, and then that's continued, and we've spoken to people, and we hear from other players about, well, so-and-so said this, it's like, well, that's not really right. And we're kind of right in that football side of it. And that will grow with time, and we've got the first game tomorrow. Now, tomorrow we might go out and get beat, we might win, we might draw, anything could happen, we might get players sent off, we might have a brawl, you don't really know, you can't predict it. But we know that we'll learn from it, and from the back of that we'll get that next stage of improvement. Now, I suppose the thing from the club side of it, and trying to get people down, is there's been no games yet. So that last contact was the last game of the season, really. And then there's a lot of work that's gone on that people might not necessarily see or understand, and people will talk and people might have a little bit moan, or I've heard this or I've heard that. But the best way to actually find out is to just put yourself out there and come down. And if you have a little bit of moan, and you have a little bit of moan, and if someone says something that then changes your mind and you know a bit of the inside to it, then that helps. But it's something where I know, like, club-wise, it's one of the reasons I want to come in, because I bought into the way that the club's running and the direction the club wants to go to. I think it's important that for that, everyone pulls in the same direction.
Yeah, buying into the ambition. Away from football, because you work at Myerscough College, so you're coaching football.
Yeah.
So you're coaching football, you're managing a football club. Yeah. What do you do to switch off? Watch football? Watch more football? Well,
I was moaning about end of the season. I was like, I don't really feel like I've had a break here.
No.
And then now pre-season started, I realised that I really don't have a break. So
because that's a new one for you, being a manager. Being the assistant manager, it's not as difficult as would it.
Yeah, no, your name's in lights, so to speak. So like, it's again, you kind of second guessing and questioning. And obviously this pre-season has probably been, well, it has been a lot busier than I would have anticipated, because obviously changing club, changing staff, changing players, just changing everything. So that's been.
You haven't stopped really, have you?
No, not at all. And I know it's going to get busier. And obviously it'll probably be, hopefully, end of next season before I'll be able to get that time to really kind of switch off again. But I've got a son who's 15, who's getting very interested in football.
Yeah.
So he asks lots of questions, and asks questions where I sometimes think he's a bit of a journalist, and he's like, "Who are you starting tomorrow?" It's like, I can't tell you that. And then I've got a very good kind of French friend support network.
Yeah.
So obviously, I like a tipple.
Well, I mean, that came across in the interview, didn't it? I mean, you mentioned booze a couple of times.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't. But it's. I think it's like, it's just a bloke. I'll go out, I'll have a couple of pints, I'll go home, I'll have a night watching TV, I'll do whatever. It's
live and breathe.
Yeah, tried to get into golf and
football.
Didn't do amazing, but I can get around. But other times I get
waste of a good walk. Don't worry about it. Listen, favourite footballer?
Favourite footballer?
Yeah.
Of all time?
Yes.
Probably Johan Cruyff.
Right, good one.
Right.
In today's day.
I've actually put a stone to that one. I could say something really cheesy about one of the current lads, couldn't I? But I don't think I could. No, actually, if I think about it, it's Messi. And putting that one, I know he's reaching the end of his career a little bit, but he's still a current player.
He's still got it all, hasn't he?
And the success that he's had has been superb.
And your favourite manager?
All time?
All time and currently?
Currently, it might be a bit of a... I suppose you admire people, don't you?
Yeah.
So I think the one that I'd probably say favourite of all time, just because of probably a little bit boring this, because it comes into my day-to-day job. Because coach at Myerscough, but I lecture there as well. So we do a lot on coach education and kind of philosophy of football and other parts of it. Is Bielsa and the influence he had on a lot of managers. So he's in the school of Pep Guardiola and Pochettino. They all kind of came under his guile, I suppose. So he's big one up there, a bit of a madman.
So eventually you answered that question about comparing your style of management. Are you going to be crouching down all through the season?
Yeah, people said that I do that too much anyway. I think that's because I've got a bad back.
Oh, right.
But nobody else is one that I admire. But again, it's probably that kind of era of manager that you're looking at. Like again, Johan Cruyff, he's influenced a lot of managers. Again, Pep and other parts of it. But again, because of where I lived, to turn and say Pep will probably be a little bit negative, but I admire his commitment and the way that he works. And people say he's earned money, but he's always had success, and he's always adapted and tailored things, and took a bit of a challenge. It's always been. I don't think a lot of managers could do what he's done, regardless of the money that he's had. I think even when he left Barcelona, they didn't have the same success as what he had when he was there.
Yeah.
I think when he leaves City, I think they won't have the same success as what they had now.
No.
You look at United when Ferguson left.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And a final question, it's a little bit of switch from football, really, and it's a question that I'm going to ask all my guests at the end. It's basically, if you could change the world by doing just one thing, what would you do and how would you do it?
What would I do and how would I do it? It's the how I would do it is the most difficult part of it.
But it's the what first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the what first. To make it a better place, I just want people just to be sound.
More tolerant of each other?
I don't even know if tolerance is a part of it, because it's a tolerant, you've got to accept that someone's being a bit of a dick.
I always felt that during the pandemic people become less and less tolerant, and that's carried on to a degree. And I might be wrong, I might be watching too much TikTok or whatever, but it seems that everybody's falling out everywhere.
Yeah. That probably is. I mean, everyone got locked up for a long period of time, didn't they? Make it sound worse than what it is, like they're in jail.
Yeah.
But I think
some of them should be.
But I don't think a low tolerance of people is necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I think as long as you don't cross the line and you respect people, it's fine. But if someone's annoying you, they're probably annoying 3 other people. I think it's people who they just aren't dicks.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's the how to go about it. It's the difficult part. I don't know. Education, I suppose, to make people realise the benefit of hard work, and it sounds a bit bad, innit? Because I work in education. Yeah. But yeah.
So does anything worry you about the world? I mean, I watched Joe Biden talk about the war in Iraq rather than the war in Ukraine when he was describing Putin.
Yeah. He's
losing the war in Iraq or something.
Yeah.
Does that worry you that, one of the superpowers doesn't know which war one's fighting?
I'd like to have a little bit of belief that he was a slip of the tongue. but
he's had that many, hasn't he, now?
He's in his, is he 70s, 80s?
Yeah.
So he's, you probably expect that a little bit, but it's, I don't know, you can look at anything in the news, and I'll look at it one day and they'll say about potentially like the doomsday clock comes a little bit closer, and that absolutely petrifies me.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you can do. I can't control what happens in Ukraine or Russia. I can't control what happens in America. The only thing I can control is what I do. I'd like to think that, like, I suppose the way that I'd go about it, trying to make sure that people aren't dicks, is by not being a dick myself, and hopefully that'll.
And that's a good way to end it. Listen, it's been nice. You've been very honest, and you've been speaking frankly. Thanks very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, mate.